And of course, above all, enjoy the process. Just vibe. And of course, you can use perplexity, you can use other things, et cetera, et cetera. But it's like, okay, so I think we've talked enough about this. I think we're ready to catch the wave of some vibes, to build, ship, and share. And I believe Wiz has a very special existential snake game for everybody that we're going to build, ship, and share together. Wiz, take it away. Sending the vibes over to you.
Thank you, Greg. Okay, so we're going to share the screen. So this is going to be a bit of a this is going to be we're going to do a lot of things today. Okay, so first of all, you're looking at cursor. You might think to yourself, hey, this is just VS Code. You'd be largely correct. It is a fork of VS Code, so it looks an awful lot like VS Code. You'll notice that we have this kind of side panel in which you can see that while Greg's been talking, I've just been vibing, making some edits to this game that we've created. I'm going to briefly walk through some of the core features of Cursor. We built a README that you'll be able to use to install Cursor. It's very straightforward. Basically, we just need to download it and then run it. There's going to be some options for you to pick. You do need an account. This is a service that you can pay for. There's a free tier, but you're going to wind up paying if you want to use it a lot. But you can kind of see like this is the kind of working through what we need document. Okay, so we've got Cursor installed. Let's say we're in a project, right, that we've loaded up. We're going to talk about the different kinds of things we can do with Cursor. So the first thing that I want to talk about, I'm going to zoom in a little bit more here. The first thing I want to talk about is Command K. So, Command K basically works everywhere. It's like a little inline chat toggle that lets you, ask questions or interact with Cursor or with whatever LLM that you're using with Cursor. So, for instance, you'll notice if I do a get status here that I have some edits that are not yet committed to my repo, right? So not great. So what we can do is Command or Control K, and then we're going to say, add, commit, and push, please. We can hit Enter to create the command, and then we can hit Control Enter to run the command. And so this is all we need to do. So first of all, Command K works in our terminal, right? So we can interact with our terminal like we would normally. Let's try something else and say revert the previous commit, right? These are things that are not trivial for some people, especially when you're getting started. So we can hit this, then we can hit Control K, and now we can say, can you unpush those changes that we just pushed? All of this is done through the chat interface, right? So we're running commands and stuff, but we're not caring about what's happening. We're just saying, describing what we want to happen in natural language, and it's happening. So first of all, this is the first thing that I think is powerful about Cursor. Now, Greg mentioned this, right? But we have the ability to determine which model we want to use. This is depending on what models you set up, how you've set up API keys. But the essential idea is just, you choose whichever model you think is going to be best for your task, right? So if we wanted to use Sonnet Thinking to power this command, which we're not going to do because it'll take a long time, right? We can use it right here. And it's right here that we do this. Okay, so that's Command K in the command line, which is pretty cool. Now let's go to our README and say, actually this README we don't need this reference to Rust. We don't actually need to install Rust. So let's do Command K and say, can you remove the references to Rust here? And then we can choose let's just go with the new model, because why not? We can hit generate. And then we can see that it removes the reference to Rust. It does the thing that we would expect it to do, and we can accept that. Of course, we additionally have the ability to use classic autocomplete, right? So let's say we wanted to add back that Rust. We could say, add, setting up Rust for WSL2. Hit the old command, and then we could do the tab autocomplete. The idea, regardless, is that we could just autocomplete our way to victory. Autocompleting your way to victory is fun, okay, but it's not like it's too much in the code, right? We're in the code still. We're having to move around. We're having to look at, like, imagine going into our main.py, right? And saying like, add some new lines here, right? So let's just do that. We're still doing the autocomplete, right? We're still actually in the code. So what we want to do is get out of the code. Now there are multiple different ways to do this, but we're going to focus on the easiest one first. So what we can do is hit Control or Command L, which is going to bring up this chat interface. You can see that we can add references to files that we want to edit, right? So in this case, we're going to go ahead and we're going to use Claude 357 again. We're going to talk about main py and say, like, add 10 new existential comments, right? And then we can hit submit. And chat is basically going to work like it would in the Anthropic UI, right, with Claude, except now we have this apply button, right, or copy button, but we're never gonna do copy. We're just gonna hit apply, right? And you'll see what happens is that in our I'll just close the window. In our app.py now, we have this kind of diff, right, that shows us what Cursor has decided to do, and we can choose to accept it, or we can choose to reject it. It tells you the keybind, so it's easy. Of course, we're going to accept it because that's how we play the game. And then we're going to go back to our chat interface. So chat's dope. One of the other things chat can do, all of these can do, is actually see everything, right? So I can say, like, update references, references to from snake, right, to ferret, because a ferret is kind of like a furry snake, right? If we hit Control Return, Control Enter, you'll see it's going to index our entire code base, and then it's going to update the references as it should see them, right? So this is kind of the benefit of Cursor. We can index everything. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and not execute this because I don't care to, but you can see it came up with a plan on how it would do this. That's great. Chat's good, but it's not great, right? Because we could go even more hands off, right? Right now we're still thinking. Enter the composer. So the composer is going to be a way that we can kind of really take this to the next level. So we have this readme .md, right, which is dope. I like it. Lots of emojis. The language is great. I love this so much, right? I want to create another readme, my gameplay readme, which is heckin' boring, right? Like, it's just like a classic long markdown file. I want to recreate this readme, right? So I'm going to use my composer, and what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to reference a rule that I created. So this is one of the things that we can do with Cursor. If we go to Command-Shift-P for the command palette, we can go to New Cursor Rule, right? We can create a new rule. So let's call this rule like snake theme, okay? In our description, we can say when this is useful. This is useful when, describing the snake game. Then we can tell it what file types it should apply to. Then our rule content, right? We can say, like, this is the snake rule. You should include as many snake puns as humanly, AI-ly possible, Boom. Okay. So now we have this rule, and you'll notice that the rules are saved in .cursor/rules. We already have a dopeness rule, right? These rules are going to be leveraged. They're basically prompts, right? They're additional prompts for our composer and our agent. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go full hands off, right? So we have like the normal composer. It can use tools, run terminal commands, edit files. That's pretty cool. Or we can go all the way to the agent, right? This is the big guy. So we're going to go to the agent. We're going to say, rewrite the snake readme with the new rules, please. Then we can go ahead and submit that, and we can just watch it do. So it's going to go on. It's going to look at the rules. It's going to see that there's this snake theme rule. It's going to see that there's this dopeness rule, and then it's just going to start doing. And it's just going to. That's it. We don't have to do anything from this point. It's just going to be making changes. It's just going to be doing whatever it needs to do, whatever it wants to do. At the end, we get to review, and then we can hit, submit all, which is all we care to do. So now that this is cooking, right? What I'll do is I'll show you guys the snake game that we've created so far. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen in order to share my screen again, but I'm going to share my entire screen. So boom, here we go. Okay, so you'll notice on the right-hand side, we have this game called Existential Snake, right? Existential Snake, navigate the maze of existence as a snake questioning its purpose. Consume to grow, but beware of rotten sustenance that corrupts your being. And then we have a quote from Nietzsche. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. Interesting. Okay, cool. So let's start. We're just going to name ourselves Chris and then get started. And you'll notice this classic snake game. And you see like in the side cursor's doing its thing, right? It's changing the readme. That's great. We can walk. It's just classic snake game, right? We're able to move the snake around. We're able to, eat these fruits. The fruits make us grow longer. You can see that we have these thoughts, right? And what we're going to do is we're just going to play the game. We'll notice that these green food dots, though, occasionally, boom, they turn out red. And then when we eat them, the rot spreads within me now. Is this what you wanted? Right? So if you eat these rotten fruits, we start to experience some not so great side effects. Decay is inevitable, but must you hasten me toward? Oh man, that's pretty sad. Poor snake guy. And you'll notice, like, to be clear, I didn't type a single line of code. We're just making this while Greg's talking. There's nothing to do. And you'll see when we eat enough corruption, we get this bad ending of corrupted existence. Your choice has led you down a path of corruption. The rot has consumed you from within, right? So this is cool, but I kind of want to make some changes. So first of all, we'll just go ahead and accept all of these changes, right? To our README. Sounds great. Now what we'll do is we can go ahead and ask our composer agent, right? Please change the UI to be more menacing in the snake game, right? And when we're doing this, you're going to notice, hopefully, though the vibes, have yet to pan out, but you're going to notice it's going to start writing things, right? And what we should see is that this is going to update our UI as it works through these changes, right? It's going to be making these changes in order to, produce the effect that we want. So the idea here is that, again, we're just purely operating on vibes, right? I want it to be more menacing. That's not even a well-defined ask, right? And the idea is that Cursor is going to be writing these changes thanks to Claude 3.57, and then it's going to be hot loading them into my UI on the right, so I can just kind of like sit there and observe how it's doing, right? This is the idea of vibe coding. We don't have to, spend all this time working through these changes. We're just going to let the AI take the wheel here. There's one more thing that I want to talk about while this is going on in Cursor, which is Command-Shift-P again. And we're going to go to new custom docs. You'll see like this, the right-hand side, the game's just changing, right? Like the agent's writing code, the UI is updating. That's great. I said more menacing. It thought red, classic. One of the things we can do is we can add custom docs to our environment. And what this helps with, right, is like, say I'm using a new tool. Like, for instance, say I'm using, I've already added Chainlit, right? But say I'm using Streamlit, and Streamlit wasn't yet in the docs, right? So I want to get some Streamlit docs, and then what I want to do is add them to Cursor. So what I do is I add them to Cursor here. I name them Streamlit, and then I hit confirm. We've already been taking that, so let's call it Chainlit. And you'll see that we've already indexed Chainlit technically, right? So, but the idea is that these docs now appear as an index in our Cursor environment. So why is this useful? Well, the idea is that, Claude doesn't know everything about, these new libraries or the latest changes in new libraries, but we can add that context so that, Cursor has access to those tools. The last thing I'm going to talk about that we're not going to spend too much time on, because I've already taken up a lot of your time kind of walking through what we're doing, is the MCP. So the MCP is it's basically, you can think of it as the Model Context Protocol, okay? And what this means is it's kind of like the culmination of all of our work so far, right? It's a way to tell the model how to use tools. So you can see here, when we're in our Cursor settings, I'll try to make this a little bit bigger so you can see it, right? We have a bunch of cool stuff. We can import all our VS Code extensions. Okay, cool. We can add general rules for AI. This is for all chats and control K sessions, right? So this is basically blanket rules for Cursor. And then when we look at our project rules, you can see we've already created some of these. We can configure our editor. We can enable privacy mode. Basically, what this means is we don't share our information with Cursor. You can also see that we can choose which models we have. We can add models. We can add our keys if necessary. It's all very straightforward to use. We also have this Cursor tab. This is the important thing. We have YOLO mode. YOLO mode is when you're truly one with the vibes, and it won't even ask you to do stuff. It'll just do stuff. I would recommend not succumbing fully to the vibes unless you're in a sandboxed environment, because it will just execute arbitrary CLI commands. But you can. You don't have to provide permission. The next thing, though, is this MCP server. And so what this does is it basically gives Cursor a new tool, right? So when we look at MCP server, you can see we can give it a name, and then we can give it what type it is and what command it should run to do this. The idea is that it is like adding a new tool that Cursor can use. So the example from their docs is a weather tool, but there's MCPs out there for GitHub actions. So it's just doing this Git stuff automatically as part of its normal flow, right? There's all kinds of interesting tools that you can use with MCPs. It's still like a growing experience, but MCP is an incredibly powerful feature. So one of the things we can see is that, like, okay, this state game is more menacing, right? Like I'd agree with that. I'd say I'm more menaced by it, but I don't love it, right? Let's say meh. Okay, meh on that one. So what we can do is we can actually go back, because Cursor leaves checkpoints for us. So what we can do is go back to the checkpoint, and then boom, we're right back to where we started, right? We no longer have that menacing UI. We're back to our original base UI. One thing to keep in mind, this is not Git history, right? So we still want to be making sure that we're committing and pushing often. You can add a global rule to do this, right? So in your Cursor settings, right, we can add a rules for AI. Always make sure to commit changes when you're done. You get the point, though. This is there's some horror stories of people losing everything, right? The Cursor checkpoint system is dope, definitely. It is a useful tool, definitely. We love the ability to go back in time to see the changes that we've made, and we love the ability to roll back. but it is not a substitute, as Greg said, for version control.